and this basically gives us power to the building. And so that's the fuel tank for that. We're sucking fuel off of that that will last us 5 or 6 days. We can run without the power. This runs the building there. One of the buildings up top there has another generator in there that gives us the electricity we need to operate it. Up and running. So the dish is 32 feet across. It's all fiberglass. These buildings down here, one's basically got generator and stuff in it, one's got fuel. The building over there, and then the other one's got the computers and all the processing equipment in there that does all the signal processing. A couple of years that comes up here, but he's the one who goes, your building needs a new driveway and it needs different stuff here, and then he'll find the money and work with the contractors to get that to happen. You want to lead the way? You want me to lead the way?
I can lead the way.
Yeah, try to grab the big way out. You can see that is right here. It's about perfectly balanced because we can swing this thing and then it sits here and spins, sending out power. A couple little motors like car starters that are about that size, but they're spinning this thing this way, and then we're just transferring the signal through this dome through the fiberglass out. We'll send out that electronic ping out to 250 miles, and then it interacts with the clouds, raindrops, birds, that kind of stuff. It comes back. So by the time we get the signal back, the signal's gone out 250 miles, come back 250 miles. And imagine if you try to shine a flashlight and the beam is spreading out this way, and you're trying to get the light reflected off something to come back in, collect it in a dish from 250 miles out. You need a big dish to concentrate that energy in here, which is why we have this gigantic dish. And we got a guy, and you can, depending where you stand, you can tell it's the dome gets some interesting echoes going on here. All those burn marks are lightning strikes that the tower's taken.
Awesome.
And we basically take a lightning hit and then it runs down these cables right here to protect the structure and goes to ground that way. But I don't think you'd want to be up here when we're having a good thunderstorm nearby, but you can see how many hits we've taken over the years. So there's everything's still in one piece, but the grounding wires, lightning rods work really well. And so there's a hatch in there to get in there and work on the motors and stuff there that turn this thing and run the signal processing, and there's another hatch up there they can get in, do that. And then you can also put a ladder here, climb up there, climb to that ladder, go up to that very top hatch and flip the top hatch out, and that top hatch is where the aircraft obstruction lights are. So there's times you got to change light bulbs up.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like that job.
At the top there, so that's a little bit of an interesting job as well.
The motor, is looking at the motor that turns in. If you look up in here,
Let me take a look in there.
there's a black, there's that black cable above that, there's like a black tube.
Little black.
That's the motor that turns this thing 360 degrees.
It's rather small for something that giant. You'd think it would be bigger.
The reason we're able to do that with such a small motor is because of the balancing and the way the gear ratio is set. It moves fairly slow. It depends on how, yeah, compared to most.
That's amazing.
So this is almost everything you see on the TV stations running around the Weather Channel, Madison, and Milwaukee. Some of the stations in Madison and Milwaukee have their own radars, or Chicago has their own radars. Typically the dome, the dish is about 7 feet across, about that big, and then you've got a dome over the top of it. So you can't crawl inside the dome. The dish is about, you know, this big, spinning around. The small dish like that, you can't transmit as much power, it's not near as precise, and they're a lot cheaper. And you but they're not real good for tornado detection unless the tornadoes are really close to the radars. But it makes a good sales pitch for the local TV stations because they can cover the city, but they can't cover much more than the city, which we cover Madison and Milwaukee and all of southern Wisconsin.
How large did you say this one was?
What's that?
How large did you say this one was?
The dish is 28 feet across. This dome is 32 feet across. Probably 32 feet across, not quite 30 feet top. No, probably is.
I think it's 30 something, yeah.
It's amazing.
And this is 25-year-old technology or so. Right now, when we get the dual pole next year, within a year or so, they're going to add some more bells and whistles to this. So the signal that goes out, the old radars used after World War II, before this one, you sent out a signal, it went out, it hit something, came back. Because of the way the antenna was pointed, you could say, okay, I'm looking this way, I sent the signal out, it came back, I know where it is because it's down this direction, and I know how long it took a signal to go out and come back, so I know where it is, so you can find the location. But you didn't know how fast it was moving. This Doppler one says I can now see where the target is, and I can see how fast the target's moving towards me or away from me, like a police radar gun does. We're going to retrofit this thing and add some more electronics to this within the next year. And what it allows us to do then is we're going to be able to see this, when we hit a target out there, it's going to be a dual polarization. What that really means is you can buy polarized sunglasses, but we send a signal out, and the signal's going out both horizontally and vertically. So what happens is if a chunk of hail typically looks round, or it's tumbling, looks like it's round, you hit it horizontally, you get a certain amount of power back. You hit it vertically, you should get about the same amount of power back because it's round. So you say that's a chunk of hail. A raindrop that's falls, kind of flattens out this way. You hit it with power this way, you're going to get a lot of power back. You hit it this way, the drop is not quite as much, you're going to get less power back. So when you start doing the processing there, you're going to be able to see not only do I have a target out there, but I know the target's round versus flat like a raindrop or like a snowflake. And we'll be able to tell the difference between frozen particles versus water droplets versus snowflakes versus ice crystals versus birds versus bugs with the new technology that's going to be put into this stuff. So it's pretty amazing.
I love my field.
I'm so glad.
So what we're going to do yeah, you go back this way, or I've been up there a bunch. We can get down, if you want me to carry your camera or whatever, we can.
Yeah, maybe. Hold on.
Got it. You don't know this yet, but that ridge line over there, there's a peak up there. There's a bump on the ridge line called Lapham Peak. Lapham, this guy named Increased Alan Lapham was a scientist in Wisconsin. Lapham Peak is on basically the high point of that ridge over there. He's the one in the 1880s who lobbied the congressman to first fund money to develop the National Weather Service.
Really?
Yep. So technically the father of the Weather Service, that peak's named after him, but he worked out in Milwaukee. He put the very first warning out that the Weather Service has ever done for the Great Lakes in terms of warnings there. And that peak is named after him. So you're like at the center of the Weather Service.